Welcome back to Ask Uncle Lee Wednesday, and as always, if you've got any questions that you want me to put onto the show or answer on the show, then just put them in the comments. The comments below. All right, so let's get into today's questions. Join me over on Patreon, where you will find all of my books, services, and courses in the shop, blog posts, and the various tiers which you can explore. You can get magical training in the Temple of the Horned Serpent First Degree, and joining as a free member gets you started with that. Or explore the Magical Journal and the Egregore project. Hope to see you there. All right, so the next question was actually from As Above, So Below, but it was about the origins of divination with cards, cartomancy. I'm going to make Monday musings about that because I'm going to have to recheck dates, histories, and it gets quite involved, especially where tarot started when it was began with as a game and then into actually using it as a divination tool. And there's also playing cards. Playing cards has a long history starting in China. So I'll do a Monday musings about that one. I have to just go back and check stuff. All right, so today, just trying to read that name. Oh, it's one of those ones. these at handles get quite complicated. So the three questions today are from, firstly, M.L. Adon Kursmanovich 5814. You'll be tagged. And then Luke Osborne 8122 and David 02178. Okay, here we go. All right, so the first one, I'm just going to say MLA. There we go. You'll know who you are. Question: how to remove subconscious blockade? I'm assuming you mean blockage. Can it be done with rituals, or it must be some kind of affirmations or meditations? Sorry for bothering. I'm not bothering at all. This is what the purpose of this show. All right. How do you remove a subconscious blockage? With great care and great patience. really is what it boils down to. This is very similar to how you deprogram yourself, from whatever it is, whether it is Christianity or whatever, because that is a subconscious blockage. It's part of your worldview, and if it's not serving you, you need to remove it, or change it, or break it up, and alter it in some way. So it's very similar. But first of all, obviously recognizing what it is. Secondly, trying to change your mind about it. And sometimes that's quite difficult because at first it's quite easy. You kind of just say, don't believe that anymore, throw it away. But it keeps coming up and coming up and coming up and coming up over a long period of time. It just keeps coming back and saying, but I'm still here. We need to question this. And that's where the problem comes in, because sometimes you're going to kind of veer on the side of it being truth, and sometimes you're going to veer on the side of it being absolute rubbish. And this is why you need to examine it. So one of the best ways to actually do this is basically shadow work. I approach this from the perspective of Franz Barden's initiation into Hermetics. So there's a specific exercise in there that he goes through, which kind of pulls the aspects of your dark or your darker mirror, your darker soul self, whatever, and your light mirror or light self. All the things, the negative things you think about yourself and all the positive things you think about yourself, bring them all in and start categorizing them, putting them into various categories and boxes regarding the elements and all of this stuff. It's quite a long, involved process. But this can be done in that same manner. It's taking it, basically extracting it from the subconscious to begin with. So write it down, put it on a piece of paper, somewhere that a different sense can actually experience it. Writing with a pen and paper is a sense of touch. Seeing it with your eyes, speaking it out loud instead of just thinking about it. All of these things start to make it more solid. And if you've extracted it from the subconscious and you make it more solid, you can then deal with it because it's solid, it's in front of you. Before that, what happens is it's just this thought that just kind of lingers, and you might think about it, but you're not really dealing with it. So get it out and deal with it, and then start examining it. Does it serve you? Is there any truth to it? Is there no truth to it at all? We may consider something to be a blockage, but at the same time, it could actually be there for a protective purpose. We often consider anger to be a negative emotion, but if anger is protecting you from somebody who is threatening you, that's a positive thing. That's a very positive emotion. So, there's no, when it comes to singular things, there's not really any positive or negative aspect of it. Everything can be positive or negative. So you may consider it to be a blockage, but examine it first and see if it actually is. See if it's there to actually aid you, or whether it serves no purpose. If it serves no purpose, or it's harming you, or something like that, you get rid of it. And that is a very difficult process. It's one that's going to keep coming up, and you're going to keep getting rid of it. But if you have decided, if you've extracted it, you've made it solid, you've brought it externally from yourself, and you have examined it in and out, then you've decided whether to discard it, or whether to keep it, or whether to change it. That's your decision. So every time it comes up again, you know you've made that decision, just go back to that decision. And if it's something you have decided to discard, it comes up, tell it to go away. Simple as that. Eventually, if you keep doing this, it goes away. Usually they kind of creep up, and you're not really aware of that, but usually it's just a case of, it's there, get rid of it. Similar to meditation. If you're doing meditation and a thought just keeps coming up, and you just keep pushing it away, and then it comes back and you push it away, and it comes back and you push it away, and it comes back and you push it away. That's kind of what we're doing here. All right, so I hope that helps. We'll go on to the next one. From Lucas Born 8122. Any good general basic things to do for the daily practice of raising your vibration? A lot of times I feel as if I am doing it right, but I will second guess myself and wonder if there is something more to be done. Yeah. I know what you mean. And the reason for that is because it's actually so simple that you kind of doubt that you've actually done anything. Taking a shower, just taking a cleansing bath or taking a cleansing shower, that doesn't just clean you off physically, you clean yourself off energetically. That does it. But it's so simple, you kind of stand there and you wonder, have I really done anything? Or given offerings to the deities so that you bring yourself into the same vibrational state and you resonate at the same level, the same frequency. That's, again, is raising your vibration. Or doing meditation, just simple, straightforward, sitting still, not thinking type of meditation, just silent meditation or whatever meditation it is. As long as you are bringing yourself out of a negative lower state, you are elevating your vibration. You then go through your day and you may find yourself sinking back into a lower vibrational state. You've got to deal with people who are usually a pain in the arse. You get sworn at, you get shouted at, you walk past people who have a negative vibration about them, and it's just this, you kind of brush your shoulder and this sludge kind of sticks onto you. All of these things happen during our day. So, we come back, we have another shower, we do more meditation, we keep bringing our vibrational state up. But what happens eventually over a period of time, and again, this is something you're not really going to notice because it's such a long period of time that this happens. It's like not from day 1 to day 2 type of thing, all of a sudden there's a big change. It's a progressive change that doesn't really get noticed, but over that progression, you'll probably find that when you get shouted at, sworn at, or walk past somebody and you kind of brush their shoulder, you don't pick up that negativity because more meditation puts you into more of an observer mind. And with that observer mind, you're not affected. There's no knee-jerk reactions. Somebody shouts at you and you go, okay, are you feeling better now? but it doesn't bother you, it doesn't affect you, because you're in a completely different state of mind. And this keeps your vibrational state a bit higher, and keeps it there, instead of this constant, pushing it back down, and then having to do something to raise it again. And yeah, so you kind of do notice it, but it's so progressive that it's not that sudden change in yourself. But yeah, these things usually end up being so straightforward and simple that we kind of second guess that if anything's happening. What you might want to try is some of the various ceremonial magic approaches, doing the LBRP, and then doing the invoking pentagram rituals and the hexagram rituals, doing all of them and seeing if you actually notice a big difference, a big change. Because what you're doing there is you are banishing, and then you're invoking the elemental forces, and you're banishing and you're invoking the planetary forces. And that's kind of a huge shift from one thing to another in a short space of time. Then you might notice something. But if it's something progressive and constant that you're doing every day, it's probably not going to be noticed. Okay, so, all right, moving on to next question. From David 02178. Hi, Uncle Lee. Hello. I have a question from listening to your video last week. Near the end, you mentioned the Christian God was an egregore. This did confuse me, as I thought their God was supposed to be a version of Yahweh, or Adonai, or Yahweh. Also got me thinking, if the Christian God was an egregore, how come Satan is not one also? The amount of damage and hate done in his name would surely create one. After reading Pillars of Tubal Cain and honoring the old one as I know him, I totally get the difference, and I'm cool with that. I am just curious as to why God is one and not the Satan. Thank you. Love the channel as always. Okay, good stuff. All right. So first of all, the Christian God has many variations. In fact, you did mention. Hold on. Let me just go back here. Did confuse me, as I thought their God was supposed to be a version of. It is a version of, which means that it's become an egregore. It's a complete creation by the Christian people. Now, Yahweh or Adonai, which the Hebrew people worship, originally they didn't. Originally the Israelites worshipped El. I believe it was some kind of traveling nomadic tribe that came along with some deity. I think the name, it was like YVH and a guttural stop or something. And that kind of came into the land, and they picked something up. And how different cultures kind of mix and meld together over time with migration and progression and all of that stuff. So all of that stuff happened, all right? But the God that the Israelites and the Hebrews worshipped at one stage, El, which then melded into, if we can say that, Adonai or Yahweh. But then we have when they got kicked out of Egypt and they went through the desert. That's possibly a different God that kind of took them through that whole process. A desert god, often called in fact, it could end up actually be Baal. But that was a desert god. It was also considered to be a war god and things like that. So that's possibly a different god. But even if we go back to the Hebrew texts, the original stuff like Genesis and stuff like that, this God is not a singular being. It's a collection of beings. And it's throughout the Old Testament. It's this collection of gods or beings. If you go into Kabbalah, it's very much kind of like this all-encompassing power, which is then broken down into various aspects of angels, archangels, etc. Adonai and Elohim, and all of these entities which make up this body or council or something like that. But anyway, let's get into the Hebrew side. So we have the God that the Hebrews worshipped. And then Christianity came along and took some of that and kind of ran with it and changed everything. We got the Catholicism, which then, broke into Protestantism and, various different branches that just believe in whatever they want to believe in. But the Christian God, in that respect, becomes a very different entity. This is a creation of the people that actually follow that particular faith and that religion. And it therefore becomes an egregore. Then we come to Satan. Satan was a word, a title, a thing that meant something. It was a word from a different language, which just meant adversary, this Satan. But then the Christians took it and made it Satan and made it into the singular being. But originally, Satan referred to many, many, many different entities, including angels. I actually spoke about this on the Demon of the Week I did with about Satan. But then it evolved into the Christian ideology or idea of this singular entity, which kind of all of the pagan gods and all of the pagan spirits and pagan beings, they were all lumped into this one entity that was then called Satan by the Christians, and therefore that again is an egregore. If we have a look at the devil, the folkloric devil that came out of the witch trials and stuff like that, this was based on the theological devil of the Christians, and it lumped all of the horn gods together and all of the trickster gods and stuff like that, or basically all of the gods of the pagans, and it became the folkloric devil, and in that can be considered to be an egregore. So yeah, they're all egregores. If they were created, they were invented, and they may have started out as having a basis in a particular deity, but it evolved, it changed, it became something completely different, and we do it all the time now. All of the spirits that we follow, probably egregores. You can even look at the white Jesus and the American Jesus and all. There's various different interpretations. In fact, a good example is if you go and watch American Gods, when they get to the house of I forgot what the goddess's name was. She's basically spring, Eostra. Um, it's just this big party, and there's all these deities there, but there's all these Jesuses, loads and loads of different Jesus, and they're all, you can consider them all to be egregores because they all come from this one root, this archetype, but they are just all completely different. Some are Indian, some are white, some are Middle Eastern, and they all look different, and one has a halo, one doesn't. And some are carrying. I think if they actually redid that today, some would probably be carrying guns. So all of these become egregores. They are creations of the mass, the groups of people that actually follow them and believe in them. All right, so that's it for today. That's all. That's 3 questions for today, and therefore I will see you next week. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Cheers for now. Bye bye.